Passover, we focus on those minute differences in life, on the difference between chametz and matzah, between leavened bread and unleavened bread. And the difference in production can be a matter of seconds, of a minuscule measurement of time can differentiate between chametz and matzah. And there's a beautiful teaching as well, which says that if you look at the words for chametz and matzah, they're essentially similar. The word for chametz, which is leavened bread, is spelled chet, mem, tzadi. The word for matzah is spelled mem, tzadi, hey. They share, of those 3 letters for each word, they share 2 in common. The difference is between the chet and the hey of chametz and matzah. And if you look at those 2 letters, the difference between a chet and a hey is but a minuscule line. It's such a small difference, even between the words when you compare them side by side. And I think this teaches us a lesson about how we often focus on the small matters in life. I recall seeing an article in the Wall Street Journal a number of years ago about the issues that really mattered in a relationship as relationships were struggling. What were people focusing on? Well, one person focused on the way that their spouse loaded the dishwasher. Another focused on the way that their spouse parked crooked in the driveway. Another focused on the way that their spouse spread butter on a muffin from the middle and didn't reach the edges. And another focused on the way that their spouse squeezed the toothpaste from the middle and not from the bottom. These small differences often are blown out of proportion and become much more important than they have to be. And that is chametz and matzah, because the lesson is that for 8 days we are zooming in, we are focusing on the difference between leavened and unleavened bread. And that's important for Passover, because on Passover, that's the ritual, because on Passover, that's our focus. We understand what differentiates. But for the rest of the year, it's simply not important. It doesn't factor into our thoughts. And that's the great lesson of life, is that we often spend so much time, outsized amounts of time, focusing on differences between our communities, differences between rituals, differences between the way that we say our prayers. But to focus on the commonality, on what we share in common, as opposed to those small, nuanced differences that divide us, that's the essence, and that's the lesson of those small details of Passover. They are limited to Passover, but after Passover, we look for what we share with one another. Chag kasher v'sameach.